I like to go in the life-saving phase. The sooner you go, the more people you can help, maybe pull them out of the rubble, or give them medical care, or make a difference very quickly to somebody's life. When I was in 2005 in Pakistan, and teams from other countries were getting together for the earthquake, and when we came, they got confused. And they said, "Who are you people? Who are you people?" I said, "We're from South Africa." "Oh, you're from Africa? Did you come to ask something here?" I said, "No, I didn't come to ask something. I brought something."
Shattering stereotypes, redefining aid. This week on African Voices, medical doctor turned aid worker Imtiaz Sooliman. Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman is always on the move. He walks fast, speaks even faster, and likes to be among the first to respond to disasters.
It is our biggest project and our biggest campaign ever, and the biggest campaign ever driven by the media in South Africa.
In a period of 7 weeks, his organization, Gift of the Givers, has flown 180 tons of emergency aid from South Africa to Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, and taken over 2,000 tons by sea.
South Africa sent a very strong statement. They said, "We are African. Somalia is African, and we're going to respond to our brothers and sisters in Africa." Even to the point people told me that poor people in South Africa refuse to receive donations, what they normally receive. They said, "Give those donations to the people of Somalia. They need it more than we need it." It was an amazing spirit. In South Africa, we call it Ubuntu, the spirit of sharing, of goodwill, of giving, of compassion.
It's a national spirit that Sooliman has been exporting for nearly 20 years. His foundation is the largest disaster relief organization of African origin. In his home country, he's a household name. In Somalia, he's becoming nearly as popular. But this is no ordinary mission. This country is still at war, and security is of utmost importance.
And yes, there is an element of risk in anything that you do. But I've been to many war zones. I've been in Lebanon, I've been in Bosnia, I've been in Iraq. You know, I've been in many places where there's risk and there's danger. We believe that life and death is in God's hands. But while saying that, we make sure that we take every possible precaution, you know, that we will put the mission on hold if the patient or if the team is at risk.
It's not just the team who's at risk. Those giving and receiving aid have come under attack. So often, screening precedes feeding.
Imtiaz, this feeding center is very busy right now. Just tell me about how you set everything up when you first arrived in early August.
When we first came, there were all these buildings, no proper structure. This is a war zone. We needed to do something, we had to adapt it. So we brought this tent here, closed it up, set up registration from that side because of security. We had to screen the people. We weighed them here, and then we set up a special room for the GPs here. It was predominantly malnourished kids, and those requiring rehydration, and they were dying. They were extreme. 2-year-old kids would look like 3-month-old children. Many of them were, one actually died here, you know, and many had died in the camps before that. So this was a sorting station. The GPs took the less complicated cases, but the mainstay of treatment was in this room here. The pediatricians, the nurses were here, and all these nails were our drip stands. And you can see from the amount of nails that we had almost 30 kids here. This was the examination couch. We had natural air conditioning, and we had light, natural light. You couldn't see well anywhere else. And because of the IV lines, you needed good light, because these kids had collapsed veins. So in some cases, we really battled. We couldn't find them. So this was the IV center, and this is where we saved many, many lives. In terms of the doctors performed miracles in this small room or the small emergency. What was also very disturbing was the fact that the mothers were also malnourished. In many cases, the mothers couldn't pick the children up. They couldn't walk with them. They themselves were in need of food.
This is the first feeding center Gift of the Givers set up in early August. On this return trip, Sooliman notices a difference.
If your viewers see that picture, they would think we're giving food to healthy people, to put it bluntly. Yet it is those same people 4 weeks ago who were dying. In fact, one child did die. So it has been a major, major improvement, you know, and we are thankful that we intervened there, but we continued, we sustained it, and we intend to sustain it for several more months. We put a pipe from there, outside, 300 meters.
The focus is not just food. A recently constructed borehole is providing water for thousands of displaced people. This time, the team has also flown in an entire operating theatre. But they soon faced with a terrible choice.
Right.
And now she developed abdominal distension.
Right.
She has peritonitis.
Okay.
She has an acute abdomen.
Okay.
A gravely ill woman needs their help. Do they divert their attention from famine victims or let her die?
We've got a moral dilemma now. Now, do we ignore these other patients, you know, because we care for famine and malnutrition patients, or do we try to help these other patients because we do have the expertise, we have the equipment, and you know we have the skills? So do we just turn our back and walk away?
In a country where famine has destroyed countless lives, they are the lucky ones. At Benadir Hospital in the capital, Mogadishu, South African aid group Gift of the Givers is trying to make a difference. After 2 decades of war, this facility is barely functional. The lack of basic equipment and supplies have made saving lives here a near impossible task. The Gift of the Givers team is here to respond to famine, but they find a nation in critical need of all forms of medical attention.
21 years of war has left people without medical care. These are people looking for orthopedic help, surgical help, medical help, and gynae help, but there haven't been the trained, specialized personnel in the country. In the pediatric section, where we expected to find many malnourished children, there were not that many. So it brings the question, is the area too far away for the people who don't have the means of transport, who are afraid, who don't have money?
While assessing the needs at the hospital, they're confronted with a moral dilemma. This woman lost her baby 2 days ago. Now complications from the birth are threatening her life too. If she's not operated on, she will die. Gift of the Givers has the equipment and expertise to help, but she's not a famine victim. She's not the reason they're here.
If we operate on her, she may die. If we don't operate on her, she's definitely going to die. So and her hemoglobin has fallen. We need to get blood. In the absence of blood, do we operate? There is no choice. And she's not a famine-related victim.
Under normal circumstances here in Mogadishu, what would happen to those patients, Imtiaz?
Well, these are the patients and nobody could see them. It's as an accumulation of a lot of patients with chronic conditions which nobody can help them with, and they've been accumulating, and we need to go see them in the ward now to make a decision who we can help and how much we can help. Because we came initially for famine and malnutrition victims. Whilst we are finding that, we are also finding other patients, and you saw me having a discussion with my team. We've got a moral dilemma now. Now, do we ignore these other patients, because we came for famine and malnutrition patients, or do we try to help these other patients because we do have the expertise, we have the equipment, and we have the skills? Now, do we just walk away? And the decision is obviously we cannot do that.
Despite the team's efforts, 24 hours after a major operation, she died.
I don't miss being a doctor. But had I not been a doctor, I would not be able to do what I can do today. So being a doctor was very rewarding, but you could see 30 or 40 patients at the most, giving good service. Being in this position, I can mobilize 30 to 40 doctors at one time who can see a couple of 100 patients. In 91, I met a spiritual teacher in Istanbul. He told me in the evening, late on a Thursday night, on the 6th of August, 1992, "My son, I read your soul. Your soul tells me that you like to help people. I'm not asking you, I'm instructing you to form an organization. The name will be Gift of the Givers, and this will be the mission for you for the rest of your life. You will serve all people, irrespective of race, religion, color, class, geographical boundary, or political affiliation, and you will serve them unconditionally. You will expect no thanks and nothing in return. And remember that whatever you do is done through you and not by you. And the motto for you to remember is best among people are those who benefit mankind," with the emphasis on the word mankind. And he said, whilst you serve the whole world, remember that Africa has a special place. Africa needs special attention. And I never looked back. I thought this would be something very small. Immediately, the war broke out in Bosnia. We were involved in Bosnia in August 92.
To date, Sooliman says they've delivered aid to 32 countries, a testament, he believes, of Africa's ability to make a positive contribution to the wider world.
And when we got involved in Haiti, we achieved a world first for the African continent. First time in the history of the African continent, a search and rescue team from Africa pulled somebody out of the earthquake rubble alive in an earthquake anywhere in the world, in the history of the world. That was an achievement for Africa. This time, we are not asking. This time, we are saying we are going to give. That is a step in the right direction.
And in the case of Somalia, Sooliman is proud Africans responded to their own.
A country like Lesotho, which is dependent on donor aid 100%, gives $50,000. What does it tell you? That we don't have, but what we don't have, we want to share. A country like Southern Sudan had just entered the fold of African nations of the world in July 2011. They're totally dependent on development aid, gives $1 million. Where the people in Africa are saying that besides our governments, we will give 500 tons and 200 tons and 50 tons, we are getting involved. Look at the positive. They are making a stand first time in their history. Next time, it may be double. And in 3 years' time, it'll be more than that.
How do you account for what you're given by the South African people?
I travel with the entire media in South Africa. It's completely transparent. I tell the media, come, no restriction, not telling you what to say, to speak or to write. You report what you see, what you observe, and what you perceive. And they've been traveling with us for many missions.
Back home, a massive operation on standby to respond to the world's next crisis.
If a disaster struck right now, how many people could you feed?
Tens of thousands of people.
Don't forget, our African Voices Facebook page is now up and running, so make sure you fan us at facebook.com/CNN African Voices. You can see behind-the-scenes photos, video extras, and why not discuss your favorite episodes with us as well? Join us now. It's Sunday morning, and the Gift of the Givers headquarters in Johannesburg is abuzz with activity. The foundation has 3 warehouses in the country packed with supplies, ready to respond to any disaster anywhere in the world.
We can mobilize teams from our own country or mobilize people from countries where we know people. Even in the Iran earthquake, we were there within 24 hours. In the Pakistan earthquake, media said that we were one of the first 5 teams in the world to respond. And remember, all the countries I'm talking about is very far from South Africa.
You're involved in so many initiatives in South Africa and around the world. How do you keep track of all the projects?
An organization is only as strong as its team members. We've got fantastic project managers, even the people, the receptionists, the people who do the faxing. Everybody, because I have efficient people, we can do so much. And in time, I've given people carte blanche. These are the projects. You know what we want to do, what we have to do. You find the way. When you give people that kind of responsibility and you empower them, they surprise you to the point that they never allow me to stop to rest because they come up with new ideas all the time. So that's how we design primary healthcare clinics, do bursaries and scholarships, life skills and counseling services, education projects, agriculture, water, and a whole range of 24 different categories of projects.
Do you ever sleep?
Yes, I sleep,
How much sleep do you get?
Well, it depends. On projects, most projects, I don't sleep. Time zone is a problem. Thinking of what to do next. Planning for whilst you're on the mission, what has to be done there. To meet the challenges of the project itself, to modify it, to bring in all the elements required to change what has to be done. And at home, strengthening the project at home and looking after the other projects at the same time. But if you're in a time zone, for example, if you're in Pakistan or somewhere else in the world, and it's 11 o'clock there, and 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock in South Africa, and somebody's calling you from Australia or from America because they want to support you, you cannot switch your phone off. But I think the biggest challenge was Haiti because of the time zone difference. And the communication was so bad, and you have to be awake. You could not miss the call of your team leader when he called you. It would have been a disaster.
Touring the foundation's biggest warehouse, one gets a sense of the scale of its operations.
This was a very small place. There was only a house here, nothing more. And we had to expand because the items were coming in. Same thing happened in Durban. Cape Town had no warehouse. Cape Town had no warehouse up till 4 months ago. And in a matter of 3 weeks, that new warehouse is already full and we need to expand. So the items in all these warehouses will feed tens of thousands of people.
Sooliman explains that it took years to gain the trust of ordinary South Africans.
When we started off in 1992, the first project was Bosnia. Now, Bosnia was perceived to be a religious war, Christians against Muslims. And people thought because we responded to Bosnia, we are a Muslim organization. Yes, we are a Muslim organization, but our principles are very clear, which I've said very clearly, that we help all people unconditionally. But when the tsunami came, people realized that Gift of the Givers works with everybody. Haiti was a classical case, predominantly almost 100% Christian country. Here, a Muslim organization is the first in Africa to respond, send in search and rescue teams. So people started trusting that what we say is what we do. We help all people.
The fact that you are a Muslim organization didn't actually work in your favor in Somalia when it came to Al-Shabaab, did it?
It made no difference because they said we are foreign Muslims. You see, we're not local Muslims. They even told my Muslim contact the Somali, that he must come alone. Besides me being foreign Muslim, they didn't want Somali Muslims to come with him to the area. So what kind of craziness is that?
There's a general mistrust of Muslims around the world because of the growth of Islamist groups, militant groups. How have you been received where you go to assist?
We have been extremely well received because we're South African. And then the thing that helped, that our teams that went out were mixed teams. Black, Christian, white, Hindu, English, Afrikaner, all mixed up.
A diverse team that includes his family members.
Without family participation, understanding, support and encouragement, this cannot work. It will never work because you'll be a split person in the middle of a disaster zone. If they're unhappy at home, if you are attached to them, your mind will be psychologically affected. You won't know whether to concentrate on calming your family at home or concentrate on the mission. It'll be a disaster both ways. If you don't have the full support of your family, I recommend that you don't do a mission like this. So it's important they get involved with me in different parts, maybe the admin part.
And it is his family, he says, that keeps him motivated to give his time to others.
Every time I look at my small child, when she's hungry, I know she can open the cupboard, eat what she wants. Open the fridge, what she wants. How many people are in that fortunate situation in crisis like Somalia or an earthquake? It's temporary. But at that moment of time, there is great need. And the fact that my child or me or my family is not in that situation is my way of saying thanks. Looking at it the other way around, if I was in that situation with my child and my family and my country, what would I expect? Would I expect the world to say, oh, not another crisis again? We don't, Africa. Yeah, in Africa again, we're tired, we don't want to go back there, This country was not part of another crisis of another country. It's the same continent, yes. I'm not saying Somalia now, I'm talking in general. Yeah, another country. So why should those poor people bear the brunt because some other country in Africa or Latin America or Europe, or somewhere else was affected? Why should that happen? A human being has to be compassionate at all times. Yes, he can say, I can't give $50 every time, but maybe next time I can give $20 or I can give $5, but he cannot turn a blind eye and say, I can't do it. I don't want to do it because I'm tired. Because one day somebody may be tired to help you. How would that feel?